October 16th, the top-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes came to Madison, this time at Camp Randall, falling by a score of 31-18. On Saturday, it was a familiar story in Madison as the top-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes fell to the Wisconsin Badgers by a score 71-67. Stephen Watson with ESPN Madison reporter Tom Lea. Jordan Taylor, 27 points, 7 assists, becoming the first player since Marquette's Dwayne Wade to score 27 and 7 against a top-ranked team. Where does that performance rank for Taylor?
It's the best. It's got to be his best. I don't remember any other performance. You can look at the Michigan State game where he had 30 points, but that was a 30-point blowout. They were never behind in that game. This team was down 15 points. Then Jordan Taylor was just, we saw the will to lead his team to victory. That's something that he's been great this year, but I think that's something that's starting to develop in his game. Is he's got that killer instinct, and I think he saw that. We're down 15 points with 12 minutes left, but hey guys, we're not going to lose this game. That's the kind of attitude that he took, and it was evident with the way he was knocking down threes, creating for others. He was responsible for 26 of the 30 points that the Badgers scored in that 30-8 run. Whether it was 18 of his own scoring or the 8 points that came off of his assists. It was just a phenomenal performance.
Outside of Jordan Taylor, obviously the big contribution coming from Wisconsin's bench, Mike Bruzewicz with 12 points, Josh Gosser 11 points. How important is it for Wisconsin to have that fourth guy around Taylor, Lohr, and Nankivil?
It's key. It's absolutely instrumental if they're going to get wins. I mean, every time they've beaten a tough team this year, whether it was Purdue the first time a couple weeks ago, or Michigan State. I keep referring to them just because it's so weird to think that they're an NIT team right now. But anytime they've beaten a solid team this year, it's had something to do with the fourth guy scoring. It doesn't have to be the same guy every time. It could be Evans one game as it was against Purdue. It could be Josh Gosser going off for a triple-double at Northwestern, or doing what he did at against Ohio State, or Mike Bruzewicz at scoring 18 against Green Bay. I mean, regardless of what it is, they do need that fourth scorer. It just needs to be one of them. It doesn't have to be 12 points. It could be 6 to 8. If they keep doing their things that they do defensively and rebound the basketball, this is going to be a team that can make a deep run in the tournament just because there's 4 guys, that are able, sometimes 5, like there was against Ohio State, that are able to really stretch the defense, and that opens it up that much more for Lohr and Taylor.
Wisconsin, a big win over Ohio State. They've got another tough test tonight when they travel to West Lafayette to take on the 11th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers. Wisconsin beat the Boilermakers 66-59 2 weeks ago at the Kohl Center. What can they learn from their win at the Kohl Center against Purdue?
Well, I think they learned that Purdue is one of the most physical teams in the entire Big Ten. I mean, you're not going to get anything easy against this team at all. Everything that you shoot, everything that you drive the lane, it's going to be physical. There's going to be contact involved. No jump shot is going to be unguarded. Defensively, Purdue really brings it. You got E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson that are 2 of the best players in not only the Big Ten but in the country. And both, they're in the comfort of their home gym, and they're going to be able to do whatever they do, with their fans cheering for them. So I think they're going to expect a physical game. They're going to expect Purdue to come out with their hair on fire to try to get a win. It's for second place in the Big Ten today, straight up. So, it's going to be a very physical affair, and I think that's what UW has to take from that first game, just so that they can anticipate that a little bit going into tonight's game.
And you got to think that second team in the Big Ten, it looks like, based on bracketology, is going to be playing in Chicago for the first couple of rounds. You mentioned a little bit with E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson. Which tandem is more important, Jordan Taylor and John Lohr, E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson?
That's a really good question. I'd still say Jordan Taylor and John Lohr, just because I'm not as sold on the rest of the supporting cast for Wisconsin as I am for Purdue. I mean, you look at a guy like Lewis Jackson, DJ Bird, there's some guys on that Purdue team that can really fill it up. Not saying that there aren't guys like Keith Nankivil, obviously against Purdue has had some huge games, and he's a guy that is very important to this Badger squad. But once you get past him, I get a little bit concerned about the contributions, as we just talked about, are being kind of sparse between the Gossers of the world, the Bruzewitzes. It's a kind of a hit or miss thing. So I'd say if UW is going to win tonight, Jordan Taylor and John Lohr are going to have to play phenomenal yet again. Whereas I feel like, especially at home, if E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson have a little bit of a struggle, which they won't because they're that good, there's some guys that can back them up, especially at home. Just playing in that home court and being that familiar, it just helps out everybody. So for tonight's instance, I'd say Jordan Taylor and John Lohr. Maybe on a wider picture scale, I might go E'Twaun Moore and Juwan Johnson just because they're so explosive, but I don't think you could go wrong with either one.
And you got to think that if Jordan Taylor shoots kind of like you do on the basketball court all the time.
I talk.
Yeah, exactly. If Taylor goes off like he did against Ohio State, it's going to be a fun one to watch again. Wisconsin undefeated at the Kohl Center this season with signature wins. We mentioned Purdue, Ohio State, Michigan State. They've been flawless at home. However, a big concern for them playing on the road. How big of a concern is it playing at the Mackey Arena, a place that they haven't won since 2005?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the only one that they've had for 30 years. I think there's been one win in 30 years over at Mackey Arena. I mean, it's just not an easy place to play. I think the best thing that could have happened to this team after a big win is having another huge game on the docket immediately after it. We saw what happened last week at Iowa. Yeah, Iowa's a team on the rise, but I think you'd have to be pretty naive to think that in the back of the Badgers' minds they weren't even thinking about Ohio State a little bit. So tonight they have nothing to look forward to except for what's in front of them, and that potential second place bid in the Big Ten tournament and potential 2 or 3 seed in the NCAAs. Tonight's a critical game, and I know Jim and Gabe, when I was on the Badger Hour the other night, they likened it to after the Badgers beat Ohio State, they went and beat Iowa in football. That's kind of what we got going on here too. I mean, nothing will take away what happened on Saturday because that's a great moment in and of itself. But a win tonight against Purdue would validate it on a season scale, just for the fact that it proves that this team brings it each and every night and can beat really good teams on a back-to-back basis. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be a heck of a game.
Once again, Purdue and Wisconsin playing for second place in the Big Ten. Hey, if Ohio State hits a little bit of a cold streak, a couple of losses, Wisconsin could find themselves with a win over Purdue,
and that's
playing for a Big Ten championship.
That's what's also important about this game. Purdue, if you look at their stretch, they got Wisconsin tonight, and then they have Ohio State on Saturday. So, I mean, this is a huge, huge game for both Wisconsin and even bigger for Purdue, probably, when you look at the rest of their week.
Wisconsin playing in West Lafayette later tonight, 5:30 tip-off on the Big Ten Network. For ESPN Madison's Tom Lea, I'm Stephen Watson. Be sure to check back at ESPNMadison.com for all post-game coverage and a reaction from Tom and I.